you do not have only the parents who are lending you. You also have others who are lending you. Now tell me one thing, if you're borrowing, you have an EMI, you have to repay both the principal and the interest. So you will see in every budget, if you're looking at the budgetary projection and the actual expenditure in respect of 22-23, you see it. It's all in the table. Yeah, the budgeted projection and the actuals. So you see there the repayment of principals and interest. Now, if you have borrowed from the bank, you have an EMI. Now you cannot pay this EMI because your earning is not enough. Now suppose you have to pay 75,000 and you are earning only 50,000. How will you pay that 75,000 EMI? So you again borrow. And you borrow to fund the borrowing and the repayment of principal and interest. This is what is happening here. You understand? This is exactly what is happening here. So borrowing and then borrowing to really repay the both principal and interest by increasing the space of borrowing. That is why the CAG has, in a nutshell, in a more simpler and respectful term, indicated its concern. And the government of the day has the audacity to hide from the truth and be on denial mode. This is condemnable. This is condemnable because we are all concerned about the future of the state. And obviously, when you talk about the future of the state, then you talk about the fiscal health. You don't expect your parents to lend, borrow and borrow and borrow and leave behind the burden of debt upon you as children. That is not what the sensible parents do. So running the government is safe. Now, you look at, out of the total borrowing, when you are borrowing, that means why we call it fiscal deficit. That is the amount which is just short, which you do good by borrowing. Now, why do you borrow? Any borrowing must be designed to be utilized for those areas of investment which will give you return, so that you are able to repay. That is the basic principle of fiscal borrowing, Therefore, in order to invest in capital expenditure, to create those assets which are capable of creating that kind of return over the years that you are able to repay. That is why when you borrow, you need to spend that borrowing for creating such infrastructure, such public assets which are capable of creating that enabling environment for you to be able to get fund which will accrue to the state exchequer, which you will do good for the repayment, both principal and interest. You understand? So that is how it is. Now therefore, you have a borrowing from the open market. You have both negotiated from the financial institutions and also borrowing through, from this is regulated by RBI. So you have the bonds and other things. So there are a number of instruments for borrowing. But as I'm saying, do not actually club all together with the loan which is referred to as soft loan provided by Government of India. You have the figures. What is out of the total borrowing for that particular fiscal year? What is the actual amount which is the borrowing coming from Government of India? It is 1,000 plus. But the actual borrowing is more than that. So now what I'm trying to say is that, now you go to that another figure. I think I should give you that page so that you will also have the reference subsequently. It should be here. Now this is in this page. Please go through this. That will give you a complete clarity. In this accounts at a glance of the report, please refer to page 11 and the last paragraph. Here you will see that out of the total borrowings of that particular year, only 44% has been spent, for capital expenditure. Only 44%. That means the rest 56% has gone somewhere. Where has it gone? Where has that 56% of the total borrowing gone? now you will see it in the report, the balance of the borrowing in the public debt was utilized to repay the principal and part of the interest on public debt of previous years. So you borrow and borrow, then you will shrink the space of the fund available for actual capital expenditure. And you will again enlarge the requirement to, to do good in respect of your repayment of the principal and also the interest of the burden of the borrowings. So this is the reflection of the state fiscal health. You are borrowing, that means whatever you are borrowing, as I have said, now if your EMI required to be paid is 75,000, you are earning 50,000, you are borrowing to ensure that you are not declared by the bank as a defaulter. But you are borrowing, you are further borrowing to service the repayment of both principal and interest. That is where the concern lies. That is where the government is lying to the people, that you are borrowing to pay the principal and interest, and you're increasing your borrowing, and you'll further increase your borrowing to repay the principal and repayment. I condemn this attitude. This is going to lead the state to a disastrous future, as has been honestly and truly reflected by the red flag given by the CAG.